Sharon Pope is a certified master life coach and relationship expert, helping women get the tools they need to improve, heal, or release their struggling marriages. She is a 7-time international best-selling author on love and relationships, including Stay or Go, which was the inspiration behind what we named this episode.
So I do, even though I'm unmarried, I do think that advice of just looking inward to find that thing first is always a great place to start, and not the environment.
When children are introduced to the equation, holy cow. I mean, it changes everything. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, so good to see you as always.
Great to see you as always too, partner. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 61. This is Living Richly with Curo. Welcome back. If you are an OG listener, we appreciate you /viewer. And also warm welcome if you just found us and you are new to the Living Richly with Curo. We welcome all of you, and we appreciate all of you. My name is Ann McCabe. I am the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth, and I'm joined, as always, every week by my lovely, amazing, wonderful partner, Atricia.
Oh, you're so kind. Hello, viewers and listeners. I'm Atricia Roberts, COO and partner here at Curo with Ann. Welcome to our show.
Yes, welcome. And if you are new, then we just want to share that our mission, both with the podcast as well as what we do each and every day with our clients in our firm, is to educate, empower, inspire you on your financial journeys. And today we are super excited to have a special guest, Sharon Pope. The title of this podcast, or this episode, which is a 2-part series because we have so much to talk about with Sharon, is Should You Stay or Should You Go? And I'll just say it right now. Yes, we're talking about your marriage, partnership, relationship, all of the above. So we're going to get into some pretty hard conversations and topics today.
Yeah, this one's going to be a heavy one, but I think a really good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. So before we welcome Sharon into our studio, we always love to do a quick A-team catch up. So what's going on, Atricia? It's a holiday week, the week that we're recording, and yet it feels bananas.
No, I've already been in like 2 meetings this morning. I'm like, what is going on with my calendar today? So yeah, we're running into the long weekend full steam ahead. So to say the least, I'm excited about the long weekend, excited about the extra day. That'll be nice. I don't have a ton of 4th of July plans. I think I'm going to see like the fireworks with my friend. One of her business clients invited her and she invited me. But other than that, I'll be finding someone's cookout to crash. And then next week, I'm in full sorority convention mode, hanging out with members of Delta Sigma Theta from all over the country. It's going to be a very busy but exciting week. So that's looking forward to the long weekend to get ready for that.
Yeah. And that's going to be crazy. Y'all are like taking over DC. How many tens of thousands of people are expected?
Yes. Yeah. I think there are actually 20,000 who are registered.
Wow.
Who will like be attending all of the convention events. But then, they're always just the ones that just come because they want to be in the city. So yeah, just look for the red and white. There'll be women in red and white all over the DC metro area next week.
Yeah. That'll be fun. That'll be so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. So what about you? What's going on in your life?
So my 2 exciting updates are I tried dermaplaning for the first time. Do you do this?
I do.
Okay. Thanks for letting me in on the secret.
It makes your makeup lay so much flatter and cleaner.
I know. It's a little weird because you feel like you're like shaving your face and it's disgusting. Like the stuff that came off my face in terms of like the dead skin, I was like, this is gross. But hello, I am super late to the party. And if you don't know, now you know. Dermaplaning is really, really the jam.
Yeah, I can get a little furry, like in my cheek area, and like my setting spray will like sit on top of it sometimes. So that's why I started doing the dermaplaning. I mean, you have to be really careful with it.
I know.
Yeah, but you like it.
I love it. I was like, oh my God. After I got over the grossness of it, I was like, all right, I'm on board. I was like watching a YouTube video and talking about like, skincare products. You and I are in the mature skin phase of our lives, apparently. And she was like, oh, yeah, you have to dermaplane. And I'm like, dermaplane, what is this? And so I went down the YouTube rabbit hole about dermaplaning, and here we are. So that's probably my biggest news that I have to share. And, PSA for those ladies out there who, like me, didn't really know this was a thing. And then I also saw the F1 movie, which was super cool. And it was great. I mean, Brad Pitt is still looking good, have to say. Still got it going on. And
Yeah.
just a great movie. So,
Yeah, my sister and I are going to see it Saturday.
yay. I can't wait to hear what you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, we're gonna go check it out in the IMAX. I've heard some mixed reviews from like some of the F1 people I follow on socials. But I think that if you just go into it not thinking of it as this is supposed to be a real depiction of what F1 is like, you can probably enjoy it more.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you really loved it, just
Because I have no
because
idea.
it was just an exciting racing movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
reviews I've heard that were less than stellar were because they were like, "Oh, that would never happen," or they mixed up the liveries. Like, this is not how the car looked in that year. And I'm like, okay, don't overanalyze it. It's still,
It's
it's still
Hollywood, people. It's a movie.
a
Let's
Hollywood
calm
production.
down.
Like, relax.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so I'm excited to see it. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I
Are
loved
you
it.
ready to come over to the dark side with me?
I mean, if it weren't like $1 million to go watch a race, yeah, I'd be there. But I'm not there. Not
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
But yeah,
All
I
right.
told you I want to watch like the documentary on Netflix. I think it is. I think that'd be cool just to like learn more. And yeah, it would be really fun to go to a race someday.
Yeah. I think a really easy one for us to do is Austin, because we're
Yeah, because we're
always in
always in
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we can figure out a way to make that work for us one year
Yeah.
where we
No,
can get
that would be
each of them.
really fun. That'd be really fun. And the idea of just you and me going versus me having to take my 4 boys, which would be $5 million, that sounds very appealing to me. Yeah, you and me, F1, Austin. And maybe I just won't tell my children.
Yeah,
Let's just
keep it.
keep it a secret.
We'll buy them some merch. We'll get them some t-shirts.
Yeah,
They'll be fine.
exactly. We'll buy some merch and they'll be like, "Why do you have F1 merch?" I was in Austin and there was a kiosk.
And there was a place.
Yeah, exactly. No, I could be like, yeah, I had to go to check out the scene first to make
Right.
sure that it was an appropriate event for me
Oh, that's a good
to
one.
take you to. I had to scope it out first.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I feel
we're
like that's
gonna go
something
with
my
that.
mom would have said to me.
We're gonna go with that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. When I wanted to see certain movies as a kid, like if I wanted to go with my friends, my mom would be like, let me go see it first.
Yeah.
And let's make sure it's acceptable.
It's
Like,
appropriate.
okay.
And then she would go back and see it again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The only one that she ever went and saw and said I couldn't see was Waiting to Exhale, but I was in like 8th grade. I probably shouldn't have been watching.
Yeah.
She was probably right on that one.
Yeah, probably. Oh, blast from the past. I think we're going to welcome in Sharon. Excited for this conversation. All right. So, welcome, Sharon, to the Living Richly with Curo podcast. We are so excited to have you.
Excited to have you.
Yay. So excited. So,
I'm excited to be here.
well, thank you. We appreciate you spending some time with us. I'm going to read just your short bio, but we like to keep the official bio as short as possible so that we can talk with you as long as possible. But I want everybody to know, in case they're not aware of your work, who you are before we get into some of the questions. So, Sharon Pope is a certified master life coach and relationship expert, helping women get the tools they need to improve, heal, or release their struggling marriages. She is a 7-time international bestselling author on love and relationships, including Stay or Go, which was the inspiration behind what we named this episode, Should You Stay or Should You Go? How to find the confidence and clarity you need to either fix the struggles in your marriage or move forward without regret, which has sold more than 300,000 copies. And she's also the host of the podcast, The Loving Truth. So make sure to check that out. and her work has appeared in numerous media outlets and online publications, including the Modern Love column of the New York Times. So again, warm welcome, Sharon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want everybody to know that about, gosh, what was it? Probably 8 years ago now.
Definitely more than 5.
It was, yeah, a while ago when I found myself, questioning whether I wanted to stay or go. I actually went away for a weekend by myself to just have some time. I had young kids and I wanted some time just to be by myself and kind of sit in silence and stillness and kind of think about, what I wanted to do with my life. And of course, like anybody does, I'm Googling things like, should you stay in your marriage? Should you leave? How do you make the decision? And I came across Sharon's work. I downloaded her like free ebook and I'm like sitting there at the pool at this hotel by myself with all these couples around me looking at me like I'm crazy because I was I was there by myself, and I'm reading your work and just related so much to how you approach this incredibly hard and important decision that a lot of women are faced with, and decided after I got back from my trip that I would engage and work with you. And it was one of the best decisions that I made. And I want to make it clear that your program and when you work with women, it's not just for those women who have already decided that they're done and they want to move forward. There were women when I went through your program who, because of your work and because of the reflection, they got to the end of the program and decided that they were going to re-engage and, try to reinvigorate their marriage and decided to stay. I, as you know, as everybody knows, because I'm very transparent here, decided that I was done and decided that I, wanted to move forward. And I remember you asking me the question, like, what does success in this coaching program look like? And I said, I just want clarity. Like, I just want to get to the end of the program and have clarity in one direction or the other. And I think I had clarity within like 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, I'm there, but I'm going to keep going through your program because it's more about, I think, working on yourself and learning about yourself than it is even your partner or spouse. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. And I'm so incredibly excited to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. This work is like the joy of my life, and it's such a privilege to be able to walk beside people during this difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's such a great segue into the first question that we love to ask entrepreneurs. We love having women business owners and entrepreneurs on the podcast. And the first question we always love to ask is, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey, and you in particular, like why this work. It's not every day that you meet people who are life coaches helping women decide if they want to stay in their marriage or leave. So like, please tell us how that was the work that was your calling.
Yeah. So I was in marketing for almost 20 years. And whenever someone would ask me, hey, if you were going to do it all over again, would you still go into marketing? And I'd always say, hell no, I would not. I didn't love it. But what I loved about marketing was human behavior and psychology and role and things like that, like I had. And being the only woman around a boardroom table, it's just, like it's pretty stressful. So anyway, I went to work for a company that ended up being sold to a private equity firm. And as often happens when private equity companies come in, is they want their team to take over. And so it was the Tuesday after Labor Day. I went into the office and some people would call it fired. I like to call it freed. I was freed on that Tuesday. and I just remember, I started doing all the things that you do. You start updating your resume, you talk to recruiters, you do try to line up what's next and what does that look like. And whenever I would do that, I literally got sick to my stomach and I didn't know why. And so I didn't know what was next for me. But I had some presence of mind at the time to be able to say, you know what? All I have to do is keep showing up for myself and paying attention, because whatever is next for me will come by. And my job is just to make sure I'm paying attention and I see it. And so, without going into a big, long story for a different day, I came across that Martha Beck had a coaching program. And I'd been familiar with Martha Beck's work through the Oprah network and all that, because she'd been doing things for Oprah ever since Oprah was, had a magazine. And so I was like, you know what? Whatever is next, this is going to help me do that. Do whatever is next. And so I still wasn't thinking, oh, I want to become a life coach. Let me research all the different coaches. Like, I didn't know any of that. I just knew like I'd had executive coaching before. So maybe this would be something similar and this would help me. Sometimes we talked about personal things. So anyway, I got into the program and I always used to say, one day I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be a public speaker. And so I had been writing a book, which was my memoir. I said, I'm just going to hunker down the next 6 weeks. I'm going to finish this bad boy and I'm going to pay attention. And then I found out about Martha Beck's coaching program. I joined that. And while I was in that program, I started to see how these platforms could come together of writing and speaking and coaching. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this. And if I can work that hard for somebody else, why not work that hard for myself? And that was 12 years ago. And so that's how I got into this work. And my coach at the time, because basically I've had a coach for the last 20 years, different coaches along the way. And she asked me, she's like, what do you want to talk about all day, every day? Like if you weren't being paid for it, because everyone said you should go and do executive coaching because that would be an easy path for you. And that's where all the money is, right? And I said, the only thing I want to talk about is relationships. That's it. That's what, when people want to talk to me about their boss or the person in the cubicle next to them that is chewing too loud or so, I'm like, ugh, why people buy and that kind of thing. But marketing can be a real grind. Like it's really difficult, stressful work. Especially like once you get to the CMO level and things like that, like I had, and being the only woman around a boardroom table, it's just, like it's pretty stressful. So anyway, I went to work for a company that ended up being sold to a private equity firm. And as often happens when private equity companies come in, is they want their team to take over. And so it was the Tuesday after Labor Day. I went into the office and some people would call it fired. I like to call it freed. I was freed on that Tuesday. and I just remember, I started doing all the things that you do. You start updating your resume, you talk to recruiters, you do try to line up what's next and what does that look like. And whenever I would do that, I literally got sick to my stomach and I didn't know why. And so I didn't know what was next for me. But I had some presence of mind at the time to be able to say, you know what? All I have to do is keep showing up for myself and paying attention because whatever is next for me will come by. And my job is just to make sure I'm paying attention and I see it. And so without going into a big, long story for a different day, I came across that Martha Beck had a coaching program. And I'd been familiar with Martha Beck's work through the Oprah network and all that, because she'd been doing things for Oprah ever since Oprah was, had a magazine. And so I was like, you know what? Whatever is next, this is going to help me do that. Do whatever is next. And so I still wasn't thinking, oh, I want to become a life coach. Let me research all the different coaches. Like I didn't know any of that. I just knew like I'd had executive coaching before. So maybe this would be something similar and this would help me. Sometimes we talked about personal things. So anyway, I got into the program and I always used to say, one day I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be a public speaker. And so I had been writing a book, which was my memoir. I said, I'm just going to hunker down the next 6 weeks. I'm going to finish this bad boy and I'm going to pay attention. And then I found out about Martha Beck's coaching program. I joined that. And while I was in that program, I started to see how these platforms could come together of writing and speaking and coaching. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this. And if I can work that hard for somebody else, why not work that hard for myself? And that was 12 years ago. And so that's how I got into this work. And my coach at the time, because basically I've had a coach for the last 20 years, different coaches along the way. And she asked me, she's like, what do you want to talk about all day, every day? Like if you weren't being paid for it, because everyone said you should go and do executive coaching because that would be an easy path for you. And that's where all the money is, right? And I said, the only thing I want to talk about is relationships. That's it. That's what, when people want to talk to me about their boss or the person in the cubicle next to them that is chewing too loud or so. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't light your
Forget it.
fire.
It just did not light me up. That had played out for me.
Yeah.
And so she said, okay, great. Can we stop talking about corporate stuff then? Let's just focus here. And she just got me really focused. And then that's where I went from that point on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it's clear that you have a marketing background because your marketing is amazing. And I'm so
Thank you.
grateful for that because, the thing about marketing is you have to be there when people have the need or are interested in the content or the topic. And you are, you can tell that you have a marketing background because all of the things that you publish and your website and your social media and like all the things are really tied together. So we admire that.
I am such a better marketer today than I ever was when I was a CMO.
Interesting.
Like I'm so much better. It's amazing to me because once you have to like really do it for yourself, it takes on a totally different angle.
Yeah.
I'm so much better now.
Yeah. All right. So now we'll get into a little bit of the meaty stuff, if that's okay. So what would you say to a woman who feels like she's got everything on paper? She's got the home and the husband and the children, but unfortunately feels deeply unfulfilled, deeply unsatisfied. Where does she begin? What would be your advice?
So you just described most of my clients, by the way, because they've had success in so many areas of their life. And they're like, why can't I figure this one thing out? The thing that I would say, the place to begin, and it's not the place where you will end, but the place to begin is looking at what am I bringing to my life and my relationships? Because I think I don't know if we've been taught this or where we picked this up, this idea that there's supposed to be something like a job or someone like my husband who is supposed to bring me fulfillment, or my kids. They're supposed to bring me my life's fulfillment. And they do at different times of our lives, but we go through different stages in our lives, right? And different things are going to bring us fulfillment at different times. And what we're seeking there is, I call it like the juice, like we're seeking the passion, something that's really interesting to us that we can really sink our teeth into. And so it's such a personal journey to get to that at any given time in your life that it's like, what am I bringing to it? Am I saying yes more often than I'm saying no to explore what's lighting me up today? Or am I just doing the same thing that I've been doing for 20 years, even though I know it's played out? Right. So that's where I would say is begin with yourself and what's showing up, and don't look to like your job or your kids or your husband to bring you that fulfillment. Go within, and that will start you on a whole path forward.
Yeah, I often share with people. So I am, and our viewers and listeners know this, I am unmarried. And I don't know that I want to be. But what I would say is, I think a lot of that has come from the inner reflection of that. Like, had I met someone when I was 25, I may have been married. But now to that point, like there are different things that bring me joy now and different things that fulfill me in different ways. So I do, even though I'm unmarried, I do think that advice of just looking inward to find that thing first is always a great place to start, and not the environment.
Yes, it's so important. That personal work of know thyself is so important. And that's what you're able to do before you get involved with other people's energies.
Yeah, for sure. So Sharon, you help women navigate deeply personal and the complex process of determining whether they stay and try to fix their marriage or whether it's time to leave an unfilling marriage. What are some of the reasons why women are stuck in the decision for so long? Like why does it take women so long to actually make the decision? And then the second part of that is, what are some of the biggest myths or misconceptions that you see about women who believe that relationships or marriages are harder to sustain?
Okay, so let's do the first part. Why do women stay stuck in a place of indecision for so long? There's a thing that I like to refer to as a place of comfortable discomfort. And that's in the I don't know phase. I don't know if I'm going to stay or go. Because if you think about it, so human beings, we don't like being uncomfortable. We like safety. We like security. We like to know what's next. We like to know if I take this action, how that's going to play out. And so if you had to lean back into your marriage in a new way, let's say you've gotten to a place of real disconnection and you've tried to make it better, but it hasn't really worked. And so to open your heart again, when maybe you're carrying a lot of resentments and there's a lot of things that you're going to have to work through together, that feels scary. And ending your marriage and walking away, that is terrifying. So both of those options are really uncomfortable. So you know what? I'll just stay right here in the I don't know, in this place of comfortable discomfort. And we stay there too long because it's kind of like, well, I know how to wake up in this. I know what to expect. I know how to move through my day in the I don't know phase, but I don't know how to do I don't know how to take a step in either of these other two directions. And I think that's what keeps people stuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like the familiar,
Right.
It's almost like what people say about people who are raised in like an alcoholic parent situation or an abusive, and then they end up with somebody who's an alcoholic or with somebody who is abusive. It's because it's something that's known, and it's the weird, comfortable discomfort of something that it feels secure in a way, I guess, because it was how they were raised. So that, it makes a lot of sense.
We will always choose what is familiar to us, even if it's crappy, even if it's nothing like what we want, versus the unknown and unfamiliar. That's just if you're not consciously aware of it and trying, like, okay, this is uncomfortable and I'm feeling some fear, but I'm going to move through this because I want what's on the other side of that. Like if you're just not conscious, I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying if you just leave your primitive mind to itself, it's going to keep you safe, which means, you know what? Here's what we should do. Go get your jammies on, get a thing of Ben and Jerry's, and let's zone out on Netflix. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Like that's what it wants you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the reptilian brain is not responsible for making us feel satisfied or fulfilled, right? It's like, it's there to keep us alive.
Survival. Yeah.
Keep us safe and alive. Doesn't care if you're happy, doesn't care if you're fulfilled in your marriage. Just don't die, please.
Right.
That's it.
In your experience, Sharon, do you see with your clients, your women clients, that there's any sort of battle with this idea of failure? Like they stay in indecision because they don't want to feel like they failed?
Yes. Yeah. I think first of all, I think we need a different barometer for what constitutes a successful marriage than just, we lasted till death. We were miserable, but we lasted. We hunkered down.
We stayed together.
Right. Like, if that's the only moniker of that was successful, like what about like children were brought into the world? Like, Anne, your babies were brought into the world because two people took a chance on loving each other.
And they're fantastic.
Like I just got goosebumps. I think that's amazing, right? So there's a whole bunch of things that make relationships successful beyond just it didn't last forever. And so therefore it's a failure or it was a waste of time. I just think you get to create the storyline around this. And you can choose a storyline like, I'm a failure. This was a failure. It was a big waste of time. I wasted 20 years of my life. Like you can create that story, but it's never going to feel good. So if you're going to make it up, let's make up something that feels a little better than that, shall we?
Oh, I love that.
We're making it up anyway.
That's it for part 1 of this conversation. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday for the rest of the discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Live richly. Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.